A message
You can
came through.
actually see it.
You should turn that off now, Olivia. That dude was a little geeky and hella awkward.
Will y'all ever geek in high school? Not just in high school, in school in general.
Which is probably why he ate his lunch alone, did his homework in the library during free period, and never went to football games or parties or anything remotely social. But he was
now it actually do make kind of sense, because if you don't go to a football game, don't interact with the school activity, or you don't play any sport or do any activity, and make people think of you different.
so kind of fluffy cute and sweet in a way that made you root for him. I had always felt like he just needed someone to give him a chance to shine, and that's why I didn't mind it much when he slid into my Instagram DMs within minutes of posting that baby monkey reel. I was in my senior year, but I'd known Robbie Mercer for almost a decade. Punch is literally the cutest thing on the internet. I'm simply obsessed with his little wrinkled face, he wrote.
Oh my god, you kidding?
Don't tell me I actually saying a lie. You gotta understand, the jocks don't all get the girl, but it all be a nerd, because a nerd kinder to most girls.
I replied. We started chatting, and I found myself smiling at my phone. Robbie was funny, a little awkward, but in an endearing way. He sent me more Punch videos, and we talked about school, music, and other important stuff. But soon, he started texting me literally every day. He'd send Punch reels.
Okay, now, seeing someone texting you every day have make you really think, are you really trying to like flirt with me, or are you just being a little creepy?
Good morning texts and questions about my day and life. He'd message me during class, dinner, and even in the middle of the night. It got to a point where my phone never stopped buzzing, and the messages were getting more and more personal.
Dump him. Dump him immediately.
You're my best and only friend, Julia. I wish we could be more than that. He texted one evening, even though we'd never...
I thought y'all went together, so y'all wasn't together.
Or hung out in person. He tried calling me multiple times a day. When I didn't pick up...
No, she found him on Instagram, and I not understand it now.
He'd send paragraphs about how much he missed my voice. I felt bad for him, but it was getting overwhelming. I told him I needed space. He sent me 20 messages in response, asking what he'd done wrong. I tried being gentle, but couldn't think of any way I could stop him. So, I blocked him. That night...
That wasn't a smart thing to do, but it was better to keep him out your life and stay away, because you kept on texting him. You don't know how far he might take it.
I woke up to a weird sound in my room. I opened my eyes, and there was a figure standing in the corner by my closet. He was tall and donning what looked like a monkey costume. The big plastic eyes caught the light from my window, and I screamed. No, don't be scared, Julia. Robbie replied.
How you got into your house? And why you in her house?
Scurrying near my bed. It's just me. Like Punch? You love Punch, right? I screamed again and scrambled backward on my bed until I hit the headboard. He kept coming closer, the mask tilted at an angle that made it look like it was studying me. My life is just like Punch, he chuckled. I'm alone and unwanted too. Nobody...
Why your phone not in your hand, and why you need to call 911? You need 911 on the phone, because this man just broke and entered your house.
Wants to keep me. But you're different. You smiled at me in the hallway and answered my messages. He reached out toward me, and I saw he was holding a stuffed little monkey plush. I want you to be mine, Julia. he whispered.
My soft toy. We can be together like Punch and his owner.
Suddenly,
that's why people at school started looking at him a little funny.
I heard pounding footsteps in the hallway. Julia! Julia! My father yelled my name from the other side. Unfortunately, my bedroom door was locked.
Robbie.
What are you doing?
Please.
I choked out, but couldn't form a sentence. I was just so scared.
What do y'all think he about to do to her?
I could hear my father throwing his weight against the door frame. After the fourth or maybe fifth try, it cracked at its hinges. Robbie turned toward the sound.
Goodness.
The mask swiveled, and for a second, he just stood there, frozen, like he hadn't planned for this part. By now, my dad had...
So what do you plan? You plan to break and enter her house? To do what? You didn't expect all this to be the way you thought it was supposed to be?
Broken through the door and lunged at him. Robbie didn't fight. He simply surrendered, while my dad tackled him to the ground and pinned him. My mom was calling the police. I was still pressed against my headboard, shaking so hard my teeth were chattering. The police came and...
For one, it's your daughter's fault for testing that dude. Like, yes, y'all probably is the same age, because y'all go to the same school, so, yeah. But, it's her fault. She should have never kept on testing that dude.
Took him away, still wearing the costume. They found out later he'd been planning it for weeks. He'd figured out which window was mine by watching the house from the street and climbed the tree outside to get in.
He was stalking you.
He'd been in my room for almost 20 minutes before I woke up. He told the police he loved me, that we had a connection, and I was the only person who'd ever been nice to him. He wanted us to be together, like Punch and his owner.
Oh my God.
He'd brought the stuffed monkey as a token of his love, said I could keep it and think of him whenever I looked at it. They sent Robbie to a juvenile facility. He'd stay there for a while. Dad got me a restraining order that extends past that, yet I can't watch videos of Punch anymore. Can't even see images of monkeys without my chest getting tight. I've never told them the real reason. Because every time I see those big eyes and that small, helpless face, I'm back in my bed at 3 a.m. with Robbie standing in the corner wearing that mask, hearing him say he wanted me to be his soft toy, as if I were a plaything he could keep in his room and hold whenever he felt lonely. And I think about the fact that I smiled at him once.
I'm glad you switched school, and I'm glad you started talking to him, and I'm happy that your parents finally did something for you.
In the hallway, answered his messages because I felt bad for him. I wonder how many other girls have made the same mistake.
Story 1 was kind of creepy.
I am Olivia Bennett, and this happened about 7 months after I moved out, because I thought independence would make me stronger.
What did y'all once y'all moved out of y'all parents' house?
I'd always wanted to study medicine, and living alone felt like the kind of sacrifice serious people made. Most nights, Instagram was the only thing that reminded me I wasn't living under a rock. So, I was pretty active on Instagram. The follow request came at around 11:30 on a Wednesday night while I was studying for a biology exam at my desk. The account was at...
Isn't biology like science? If biology is more like science and the anatomy, I don't even think I took biology in school. I had to science, and science, I hated science so much.
It looked like a bot account because it didn't have a profile picture, posts, or followers.
Yeah.
I should have declined it immediately. But I was 19, tired, and hardly thinking straight. And I'd gotten dozens of random follow requests that week from people starting new accounts or bots or whatever. I accepted it without a second thought and went back to my notes on cellular respiration. Seconds later, my phone buzzed. Emily had posted a story. I tapped it, more out of curiosity than anything else. The image loaded, and my stomach dropped. It was unmistakable.
There's no way you got her apartment building. That part is not her apartment building. That part is something else. Because there's no way.
My house. The photo was taken from the street, but my bedroom window was visible on the second floor. The curtains were open, and the lights were on. And if you squinted closely enough, you could see my shadow under the glow of the desk lamp beside the edge of my bookshelf. Before I could wrap my head around it, a message came through. You should turn that off now, Olivia. My hands started shaking.
How you know she was watching it? There's no way that she go on your profile, saw that, and you tell her turn them off. So you know she watching it.
And my mouth went dry. I hurriedly got up from my desk, turned off the lamp, and closed the curtains. My room went dark, except for the glow from my laptop screen. I stood there in the darkness, trying to process what was happening. Right then, my phone buzzed again. Emily had posted another story. I opened it with my heart hammering in my chest and nearly screamed. The story refreshed. It was my house again, but from the inside this time.
The inside of your apartment? I thought that was the hallway of your apartment building, not the inside of it. Oh.
The photo was taken low to the ground, like someone was crouched in my hallway with the camera pointed straight at my bedroom door. My chest tightened.
No.
They were inside my house, close enough to move through it, take photos, and post them while I stood frozen in my dark room, afraid to make a sound.
I don't know what to tell
I hurriedly ran and locked my bedroom door before grabbing my phone and dialing 911.
That's all
I kept pressing my head against the door to listen for sounds as the call connected and the operator answered.
I'm glad she called 911. The last person she won both. They didn't even call 911 because she was terrified. But I'm happy that she was brave enough to call him.
Whispered that someone was in my house. She told me to find a place to hide and stay on the line. I crawled into my closet, pulled the door shut, and sat there in the dark with my phone pressed to my ear and my free hand over my mouth to keep myself from making noise. I could hear soft shuffling in the hallway, followed by a low giggle that made my stomach twist.
But who is this girl Emily? And why is she so attached to you?
The operator kept talking to me while she told me the police were on their way, and I stayed curled up in that closet, counting my breaths and flinching at every sound the house made.
Calm down.
At some point, I checked Instagram again. The account had gone offline, but hadn't taken the photos down. By the time the police arrived, I was sobbing so hard I could hardly speak straight. An officer consoled me while another searched the entire house. They found my back door unlocked, but everything else was in its rightful place. They took my phone.
So Emily had to escape minutes ago before a cop came.
And looked at the Instagram account. @Emily was still there, but both stories had expired. One officer took screenshots anyway and asked if I knew anyone named Emily. I told them I didn't. They filed a report and told me to change my locks and install cameras. One officer suggested I stay somewhere else for a few days. I called my parents and they drove over to get me at 2 in the morning. I never set foot in that house again. My parents moved my stuff out over the next week while I stayed with them. We put the house on the market a month later. I completed pre-med and chose a university in another state. I will graduate in 6 months, but the cops have yet to trace them. I don't think they ever will. The @Emily account disappeared completely the next day, as if it had never existed. They tracked the IP.
It making us really think that there was nobody there, because you can't just go to someone's apartment or magically disappear off the grid.
To a public library 3 towns over, but the security footage from that night had already been recorded over by the time they checked.
Yeah.
I've tried putting it past me and moving on, but the episode still lingers somewhere in the back of my mind, and I can't help but replay the night over and over in my head. Who were they? What did they want? How did they know exactly where my house and room were?
I thought it was just one.
I wonder if they're still out there and have found someone else to follow. Someone whose bedroom window is visible from the street and who accepts follow requests from blank accounts. I posted the Instagram close friends story at 1:40 a.m. on a Saturday when I couldn't sleep and had nothing better to do. It was a video of my TV playing some reality show.
I don't really post that much on Instagram anymore, but I do scroll down on Instagram, look at reels and stuff.
In the dark, with my feet propped up on the coffee table. It was meaningless content, but I always did things like that when I was bored and wanted my friends to know I was awake. Usually, someone from the list would text me, and we'd spend time bickering about one thing or another who it was, and the name made me frown. It was a guy named Rohan. I tapped on his profile picture and remembered him as a senior from my high school. We'd barely talked back then, except for a few exchanges during school fests and celebrations, and even that had stopped after graduation. I stared at his name, trying to remember if I'd ever added him to close friends.
You gotta be careful to who you add on your close friend. Be mindful and be mindful on who you follow. Because a lot of people you follow won't be the same person you see on the Instagram.
And kept it tight. I went through my settings and removed his ID, and tried convincing myself that maybe I had mistakenly added him, but the explanation just didn't sit right. But the buzz of my phone caught my attention. I picked it up, and it was Rohan again. I opened the inbox and nearly dropped my phone. He had texted me, "Turn around." My stomach churned. I sat...
Whoa. We already seen two people come in somebody's apartment building, house. Now, someone behind you?
Frozen on my couch, staring at those two words, before I slowly looked over my shoulder at the empty living room behind me. But my apartment was the same as it always had been. Before I could recover from the previous shock, another text buzzed through. No, the other room.
Which one?
He was talking about my bedroom. My breathing picked up. I could see the door from where I was sitting on the couch. It was slightly open,
don't go in
but
there.
I knew I had closed it out of habit before I sat down. I strained my ears and could hear the soft padding of footsteps echoing through the space. They were coming from inside my bedroom.
You left the window open? You had to leave something open. You had to. Or did you grab a rock and broke down your window and then climbed through it?
I didn't think twice. I grabbed my phone and ran straight out of the apartment. I called the police from the lobby, with my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. They arrived in maybe 10 minutes. 2 officers went up to my apartment while I waited downstairs with a third. They were up there for a
If that were a black person calling, them calls going to tape on like an hour.
Time. When they came back down, one of them was walking Rohan out in cuffs. He'd been under my bed for hours. The officer told me they found his phone still open on Instagram. He'd been watching my stories in real time from underneath me. At the station, Rohan explained how he'd done it. 3 weeks earlier, I'd been at a cafe near my office working on my laptop. Rohan had been there too. I hadn't noticed him. He'd stood behind me at some point, close enough to see my screen.
I don't get these men. Like, why are you being so creepy to girls that don't make no sense? Now, if y'all doing to famous people, I understand it because they're famous.
While I was scrolling through Instagram settings, he'd created a fake account pretending to be one of those people and sent me follow requests over the following weeks. I'd accepted it without thinking because I recognized the name. and assumed they were second accounts or that I'd somehow missed adding them the first time. He had tracked my habits and schedule before he planned the entire thing.
No!
Through the stories, he figured I always left the small back window cracked open at night to let fresh air in and waited for the right moment before.
I thought she didn't leave the window open. She forgot. How do you forget that you left the window open and forget that you actually added this person?
Before he let himself in. He then hid under my bed and watched my stories, waiting for the right moment to respond.
Yo, if that video was wild, you haven't seen anything yet. I put my funniest reaction right here in this playlist, and YouTube thinks you love this special video next. Click one of those, hit the sub button if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.